Good morning. Let me get this on correctly. There, that's better. Happy Independence Day. It's a carnivore Independence Day. What has carnivore given me? Carnivore has given me independence from cravings and hunger and frustration. But most of all, what it's given me is self-acceptance. So I made a few notes. Every Monday, I've made my pledge that I'm going to be going live and talking about the carnivore experience and how it's opened up self-acceptance for me and how that opens the door to all kinds of other wonderful things that I can do. So I have quite a few notes here this morning. And I just want to add that I've been looking at things like 4th of July, Independence Day, looking at Ralph Waldo Emerson's essay on self-reliance and just talking about this idea of independence and why independence is such a wonderful thing and why it can create trust and can create community. So in terms of how carnivore connects with independence, when I went carnivore, what happened was I lost my hunger and I lost my cravings and I lost some of my self-obsession, constantly worrying about how I looked, what I was wearing, what I was doing. It seemed to ease those confusions. And I do want to talk a little bit of the science of why. I do believe that what happened is that when I went carnivore 3 years ago, and now that I'm committing to a plant-free eating style, what is happening is now I'm insulin sensitive and I can hear the feel-good hormones. Those feel-good hormones, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. So what's happening is, the way I think of sugar, and this is the Sugar Freedom Channel, what sugar was doing is it was like loud music in my head. And so sugar was overstimulating all of my senses. It was all I wanted, and it was like when you turn the music way up loud and you can't hear anything else. As I pulled the sugar and the glucose out of my diet, all of that noise got turned down and I could hear dopamine, serotonin, and all of the feel-good hormones again. And what happened was that opened the door back up to doing the things that I wanted to do. Once again, talking about this concept of independence, this independence from sugar and glucose and sweets, and from that quick hit that would make me feel better, open the door, giving me the freedom to then go back and do the things that I care about the most. 3 things that the carnivore diet has freed me to do. Number 1, sing. My voice is clearer, stronger, and my range is bigger than it has ever been in my life at 58 years old. Number 2, thanks, Frank. Number 2, it's given me the freedom to dance. Here's a very short story. 18 years ago, I was trying to choreograph a dance. I had gained a whole lot of weight. I was clinically obese at that time, and I came down out of a grand jeté and broke my foot in 4 places. So that was 18 years ago. And since then, sure, I've had sprains and strains, but I have never had another injury like that. And it was really after that accident, breaking my foot, that I started to make some real changes in my life, discovered how to quit sugar, and then start eliminating the grains, eliminating the seed oils, and until finally going to an animal foods-based diet. And number 3 is the most important one, and it was accept the way I look. The cruel inner judge that has told me that it's not safe to go out there and be seen is silenced as long as I abstain from plants. And I had mentioned recently that I had tried to go back and add back some vegetables. And what happened was really pretty much immediately. Day 1 was fine, day 2 was a little bit worse, and then by day 3, adding back some vegetables and low sugar fruits, I started to have that voice. And they call it self-hatred, they call it self-loathing, and it isn't me and it isn't real, and it seems to be something about my insulin sensitivity. When I become insulin resistant, I can't hear and I can't respond to any of the feel-good hormones. And once I can respond to them, everything adjusts, everything gets better, and I get to be myself again. So, and what's interesting is that through free platforms like YouTube and even Blogger, does anybody use Blogger anymore? Yes, I do. Through these free platforms, I'm actually able to express myself as a singer and as a dancer and as a speaker. And whether there's one person watching or 1,000 or even more, it is this actually free platform where I get to talk about my experience. And I think that this is something that makes me very optimistic about the present and about the future. I like to think, what if I was taught years ago, this is interesting, the father is a soldier so that his son can be a merchant, so that his daughter can be a poet. So what I'm saying here is, we're still going to need all kinds of people in our economy, but what happens is when we are healthy and when we have a healthy, independent economy, what happens is that opens the door to artists, athletes, creative people. And I think that what happens is that once we have our needs covered, if you think of the hierarchy of needs, safety, food, and then we start to get into covering our needs, and then we get to become creative and do things that we enjoy, that what happens is that the economy broadens. We get this much broader economy where more people can make a living doing more things. And so we're always going to need doctors and nurses and farmers and all of the people that provide the goods and services that we need. But what happens is the economy broadens, and people like me, who knows, people like you, can make a living doing the things that they love. And what's more than that is, consider this. Imagine that, like, for example, in my community, we have some community theater, opportunities to dance, we have sports leagues. Imagine a society where all of those opportunities are available, so that those of us, we've worked in different things. I've worked in fitness, I've worked for state parks, I worked in retail, so that those of us who are working in those local jobs that need to be done, perhaps you also have time to pursue the things that you love and the things that really make you happy. America is aging. A lot of people, we have more and more seniors. Our number of seniors are growing. One of the most difficult but necessary jobs that people do is getting into healthcare and life assistance for people who are maturing. Now imagine if we created the kind of community infrastructure where the people who were doing those jobs also have the time and the opportunity and the income to do the things that they love, so that they can go and recharge and then go and do the things that have to be done. This is one of the things that I think is a really good idea. And I think that one of the things about getting rid of plants and getting rid of insulin resistance is that it makes me feel so much calmer and so much more confident, and it brings back my optimism for what we might be able to do going forward. So getting back to the nitty-gritty a little bit, overcoming obesity now 12, 13, 14 years ago, the first thing I did was I changed the way I was training. So job one was weightlifting, intervals, and dancing. So I was actually changing my physical fitness program. And what does that have to do with insulin resistance? We have studies that demonstrate that once you get into muscle building and weight training, your insulin sensitivity improves in as little as 6 weeks. So I think that it was the change in fitness, getting rid of the cardio and starting to lift weights and do intervals, that allowed me to get enough insulin sensitivity that then I went after the sugar and the grains and the seed oils, which just made my feelings of well-being better and better and better. So if you can combine your fitness and your food, there's a very good chance that you're going to find a new pathway toward feeling really, really good. And I think, to wrap up this live stream today, why it's a happy Independence Day is I found that this carnivore lifestyle, this plant-free lifestyle, has actually allowed me to gain the independence to really do the things that I love, consume less, create more, and have that happiness to go forward. All right, so that's the end of this one. As always, here's what I like to say now. Here it is. So train wisely, eat for yourself, and let it begin. All right, see you back here next week on the Sugar Freedom Channel. Bye-bye, everybody.